the moment we've been waiting for. Feel the right in the world of that for sure. Na 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 na. Got to get that feeling.
Hello, loves. It's me, Sunshine. What's going on, everybody? I have an amazing soul with me tonight. Although, I always have amazing souls, but this one is Phoenix Green. Bring him on. Hey.
How are you doing?
Good. We got comments already. Hey, Christine, goddess. Yay. So, Phoenix, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so much fun. So tell us how you rose through the fire and became the most amazing person that you are today.
Well, how much time do we have, right?
You got plenty of time.
Well, let's see. It started back in, I guess, 2010.
Okay.
On my 30th birthday, I had my awakening, and it was this like profound moment when you are given the sight, Like in the beginning, sometimes it's like we kind of don't know what a spiritual awakening is until you have that moment that just
Mhm.
separates from everything else, and I'll never forget, like I was just outside on my patio and this green light kind of like lit me up and there it was, this beautiful phoenix, and it was big. It got big. It started getting bigger and bigger, and it just like I went with it, and it took me out above the earth, and it just showed me how small I was. It's the
Wow.
first thing like the spiritual guide just teaches us is like really how small our problems are.
Yeah.
Well, and then once I started to just let go and connect, it's just flashed everything so fast in front of me. And it took me about 3 years to really process that from like 2009, 2010 to like 2011 and 12.
Right.
When on my 33rd birthday, I was visited again, and that's the kind of like the cement be like, "Hey, what did you do those 3 years?" And I was like, I was trying to figure out if this was even valid, if it was true or not, Like, I think
Yeah.
that's the first thing when we're hit with some type of awakening, we get that awareness, all of a sudden there's this new awareness, but then we rationalize everything. So we need to, find the logic in what exactly happened. And a lot of times when we try to go through our own personal journeys, we sometimes
Analyze. Yeah.
quantify, yeah, and analyze, and it just gets to the point where we break down the process. So I think the 3 years was good for me to kind of figure out. I started reading books like Joseph Campbell, Power of Myth, you know, um, Beyond Within, like all these like different books that started to just trigger certain areas of awareness. And I think that's really the bigger area. Once we go through these experiences, they really like trigger our spiritual awakening. And it
Yeah.
wasn't until like 2015 until my father passed from lymphoma. That's when all of a sudden everything from the messages from the other side, like the higher, and really when I rose from Charles D. Vulo, which is my birth name, to Phoenix Green, because
Mhm.
then it was at that moment where all of a sudden everything just kind of just started making sense. And I think that's it, is when we really start connecting deeper to our higher self, and we find those areas that start to really resonate and start to light up. And then other people along the path we find that are also either where they are in their on their journey. And it's just a nice thing to really appreciate.
Yeah. I completely agree. And what were other things that you did to get to this point?
There were a lot of things I could be saying. Be
Yes.
like, I mean, if we really think about it, probably like everything can be, associated to how we became spiritually evolved. But I really think some of the bigger things were like the float tank,
Mm.
so from the float place, like I was good friends with both Tom and Hardy. from the float place. So I worked there too for a while, helping to maintain some of the tanks in the beginning.
Oh, fun.
And it was a great time. And I think I had like 70 something floats under my belt, 75, 76, somewhere around that. So like every one was different in its own way. I had different tanks that we had, but
Right.
any type of isolation therapies where you can disconnect from the distortion, from the distractions, and really focus in and hone in on those higher aspects of yourself, you really could find. So a lot of the healing protocols were channeled through when I was doing time in the float tank, So
Mm,
little things like that, like, and again, it was just these little things that just started to skyrocket. And the more we put emphasis and energy into it, obviously, the stronger it grows.
right. Yeah. That's beautiful. Yeah. Hardy actually comes to my house every Thursday and does breath
Nice.
work. Breath work journeys, yeah. Fun. So what other type of modalities did you
So in
explore?
2012, I graduated to get my bachelor's degree, right? But then
Okay.
after that, talking with my girlfriend, I was kind of like, listen, like, there's got to be something else that I need to figure out, like what I'm being drawn to. And I
Right.
found this college up in Connecticut, called the Graduate Institute, and they had this healing modality that was kind of being thrown around, and they were kind of like really kind of like new at it, and it was all about understanding how these multi modalities are a way of dealing with alternative medicine, and particularly understanding the allopathic of alternative medicine, because without the regular medical field and without holistic medicine, right, they have to work together, right,
Right.
because there are things in the world that each one are really good at, and some of them don't do well,
Right.
so like, for instance, like, it's just trying to find what type of way that I could take this bigger picture and this bigger amount of energy and working with people and figure out this thing called the four fields of energy. So that was the one of the things that was channeled in the float tank, is the
Okay.
four fields of energy. And it's known as PEMS. This is a very popular term being thrown around in the spiritual world. Um, it was coined, I don't even know who coined it. I think it was just like thrown in. It was just, I always like assume, like, physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. And
Mhm.
those are the four fields. Those are the four basic fields in how we operate. How and the soul basically takes these fields and incorporates it. So he understands the physical, like the actions that we're doing, the emotions, do the emotional aspects, the mental, do the mind and how we think, and spiritual, of course, our belief system. And that's the thing. It's like when we've grown up, we might have a belief system that was kind of like instilled on us and told to do,
Mhm. Yeah.
versus finding that absolute perfect belief system, which is the higher self, that you're able to now take all that energy, all of that knowledge and wisdom, and apply it. Because
Right.
if you read certain texts and certain books and you're raised a certain way, but you don't apply it, that's just your own personal belief. It's great. But when you start applying these beliefs, and that's what I felt with spirituality was calling to me. And when I had this higher awakening, made me realize, like, oh wow, there's a whole way of being, there's a whole way of thinking,
Yeah.
versus what we were told or
Oh,
what was
yeah.
as
Taught.
is, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So again, once you start to go through these different modalities, you start to develop your own modalities. So,
Yes. I love it. I love
the healing work and stuff that I do, I incorporate the four fields of energy in with it. With my Reiki that I do, with the animals too. Animals have a four field of energy, and we're responsible for one of the biggest ones, and it's their spirit, their belief.
Mhm.
It's like one of the things that we can inspire into every animal is that we can inspire a belief system, tell them that they're a great animal, that they're a beautiful being. We do that for people. I just tend to do that more for animals because I try to listen more to animals than people. That's kind of like my thing.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
I listen to nature and I listen to the different clues and the cues that we're getting. And once we're able to really kind of take compartmentalize and kind of like put all this energy into areas where we can apply it, we can see these higher areas of awareness that came from it. And that's one thing I remember, is that the higher levels of awareness came from the time when you were putting the work in. When you stop putting the work in and stepping away, of course, we tend to be distracted through distortions. So
Right.
those are the two things that kind of came into play with the four fields of energy, is understanding that there are many distortions and distractions in the world, but it's how we incorporate these four fields into these distractions and figure out our ways around it.
Beautiful. I love it. I love it. It's such, I mean, you said it all. We're getting lots of saying hellos, hello, hello, hello. Yes. So tell us about your work and what you do.
Yeah. So I do a couple of modalities that I've kind of like connected with. One of the main one that I do is through incorporating energy work with oracle cards. And
Oh,
reading different oracle cards. So like I'm known as the cosmic oracle. I see things with a lot of cosmic energy. One of the particular energies that I deal with is the Schumann resonance. It deals with the resonance of the earth and how it affects, like, it could affect different healers, or really just every living thing on the planet is affected by this.
yeah.
So right now, there's been a lot of high energy. So a lot of people have been telling me like, "Oh, I'm having sleep issues," and like, I mean, just that's just a general kind of like consensus of the world right now. As we're moving past these next stages, and like I said, Mercury retrograde is starting to come up. So that's going to be a very high amount of energy, high amount of areas that we need to like focus on. So these are key areas that really, when you start to hone in on the four fields of energy, and then you start applying it to different things. So,
Yeah.
for instance, like I said, Reiki is one thing that I practice, and incorporating those areas in, and the energy work too is, utilizing multiple modalities, crystals, oils, scents, little things like that, like trying to incorporate the full picture. So when people are, you're working with people and stuff like that, and the energy's coming out, it's how we facilitate that energy, and it's again like how do they take that energy to the next thing that they're going to do and share that with someone.
Right. I love it. We've got a lot of questions. Someone's asking, Heidi is asking if you are vegan because you were talking about animals.
Well,
So
I, I
I'm on
was
the
I
spot.
was I was vegan for a very long time, and like I'm
Okay.
considered a conscious omnivore now. So like I definitely dabble. I go back to eating certain like animal products, but like red meat, pork, and stuff like that has been really removed from my diet. And it's very spring. And I just was battling with that actually. As the summer months, I was becoming a little more vegetarian, a little more vegan. And then
Right.
as the winter months come along, I started going to like bone broths and like certain things like that I feel are nourishing, but also easy for me to digest. I think digestion is one of the biggest things that I've been dealing with for this past like summer. So trying to find the right foods that my body can digest, create energy, right? Because that's the reason why we ingest certain foods and stuff
Right.
to create energy. So yeah, I went raw vegan for like 6 months.
Good
You
for you.
lose weight, but the overall the clearness and the
Oh my
the
God, it's
the
so
messages that kinda, like, come through with
yeah,
that are
yeah.
super strong. So I definitely did that, but then once December and January came by, I had to go back to eating hot foods because my body temperature was I was spending so much energy to heat my food up because your body has to do that. So when you eat the raw foods during the summertime, it's a little bit warmer, your body doesn't have to use that much energy. But in the wintertime, your body's gonna utilize a lot more energy. So
Yeah.
I had to throw in those bone broths and some of those, soups and stuff kind of like transition through that. But I think I think the thing is the truth is if you really have a true heart for healing animals, I don't necessarily believe that ultimately what you put in your body because I've seen it. I've seen people that eat meat and they can have birds land on them and connect to animals and whatnot.
Right,
And
right.
I've seen it the other way too, is where people
Yeah.
but it's really the core of who they are, like what do you
Yeah.
do with that energy that they're consuming? Are you blessing the meat, and the way of the old way, ancient ways of how we dealt with food and intake of energy.
Yeah.
It's like I think that's becomes more of an understanding when I think about like being open to receive the loving unconditional energy from animals. I said you really just have to be present and just keep an open heart and be patient.
Yeah.
Like if birds in your yard, you can just go outside every day, but they may not land on you. But if you do it every day with an intention, eventually that bird's gonna get close, or the squirrel's gonna get close. Like that's just how they are because they're trained to have a habitual instinct that they need to like step back, you know?
Right. We have another question. Wait, and she wrote this. Uh,
Mhm. So tinnitus is pretty interesting. So they say it's like certain things. So like during certain heightened what I've noticed through spiritual evolution, when we go through these areas where I call it letting our wings out,
yeah.
like going through that phoenix process, auditory, like all these different tones and different things can have it. So sometimes the tinnitus is the higher self, the
Yeah,
resonating with different
yeah.
frequencies, alerting the lower self of, hey, listen, pay attention to this.
Yes.
Other times, it could be simply as something like being dehydrated. You know,
Mhm.
dehydration is one of the number one reasons why people have tinnitus. And
Yeah.
it's because of the resonation in the ear, and it becomes like anytime you have minerals in the body, right? Needs water for to facilitate the minerals through, through the system. So with tinnitus, the same thing. The energy gets blocked up in the ears, right? And what happens is that there's no water, there's no fluid to help remove some of the buildup of even like excess wax buildup can
Yeah.
be number one. And wax buildup is from dehydration too. So it's all these things. So like people are like, well, what's the simple fix? It's water, really. I mean,
Yeah.
you can take all these like oil ointments and put on these things in your ear, but overall, it's just gonna problem's gonna keep coming back until you fix what? The root cause. And
The
the root
root.
cause is finding why you're having these areas of tinnitus or what you need to tune in and listen to, you know?
Yeah. I actually, when I first awakened, I was getting tap, 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 tap in my ear.
Yeah,
I still get it. So
nice.
I'll say, okay, I call them my loves. I'm like, okay, loves, let's get this healing started. I hear da, 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 and it's just part of me, part of
Yeah,
who I am,
yeah.
part of the way I connect
Well,
and
that's
know
excellent,
that I'm
right?
connected. Yeah.
Exactly, and that's what I like to say too, is that every one of us has unique way of
Yeah.
connecting, and
Yeah.
it might be sense, a smell, it might be of auditory, and it might be this like vibrational and hormonal frequencies and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So it's like when we start to really tune in, everyone has what I call a spiritual love language. So everyone has this ability, and we know about the clairs. We can go have a whole talk about the different clairs
Yeah,
that
yeah,
body
yeah.
goes through, right? So like we know that we have these abilities to do this, but when it's actually happening, we don't realize it that one of them is our spiritual love language that we need to tune into. Like,
Yep.
I know people that get, like, messages from heaven and stuff. They'll get pennies, or they'll get dimes, or they'll get feathers, right?
Yeah.
That's the conduit. That's the way the energy comes to you. Then I know
Yeah.
people that can smell certain things, and, like, things you're like, "I don't smell anything," but they do because they can spiritly smell a certain sense of, like, someone's cologne that passed, or a
Right.
certain food that a person I was like when my father passed, I would smell, like, certain foods. I'd be like, "What is going on? I don't smell like, where is
Yeah.
this coming from?" You know? Yeah.
Yep. Yep. So much fun.
Harmonic frequencies, yeah, our
Yeah.
buddy Houston, we've definitely have, talked about that.
I actually, if I'm talking to somebody on the phone, I smell them.
Oh, see? See, there you
Yeah.
go. So,
Yeah.
you'll get that sense of smell. I feel them. I
Yeah.
feel what
I
they're
feel
going
them
through,
too. Yeah.
and I think that's the big thing too, is that the empath, have the ability to really feel what another person's going through.
Yeah. Yeah.
Difference from feeling what we're going through and knowing the difference. I find that to be what I call distortion through empaths, or empathic distortion. So we're having this ability to kind of feel how other people are feeling, but if we're not feeling a certain way, or that energy's blocked, we're not receiving it the right way.
Right.
And that
Right.
could be a big time. That could be a big thing. We could just be assuming something, but it's not
Right.
necessarily what it is.
Yeah. So Christine wrote, she needs to learn to not fight it. Yeah. So
Tinnitus, right? She's talking about.
yeah, yeah. So
Yeah,
surrender
absolutely.
to it and don't focus all your
Right.
attention on it.
The
You
first
know?
thing, of course, I mean, it's always based off of age too. When people are asking the tinnitus question, I ask them like how old they are, because at a certain age, high blood pressure is going to be it's like one of the number one side effects of aging, in a sense, if you want to call it what it is.
Yeah.
Our blood pressure goes up because our hearts has to increase effort. So like all these like different things, when we start to realize like that could be a reason that could cause the tinnitus, or it could be the fact that during the time when that's happening, what else is going on, and what are you able to tune into those
Right.
hormonal
Right.
frequencies.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I love it. I love it. So tell us about what's going on with the energy,
Yeah.
crazy
Oh.
energy.
And it's only gonna get crazier. I mean, we haven't even experienced Mars retrograde. Mars retrograde is gonna be end of October 30th. So Mars is only a 2-month It's very powerful, it's volatile, it's got, like, a lot of violence and anger and fear a lot of times get pushed onto it, but it's all for us to understand that that's just that masculine energy coming through that we need to figure out how do we facilitate that energy so that
Yeah.
nobody gets hurt, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, right now, what's coming up is more about what's going in the mind, like what how we're processing the way we're thinking. And right now, we're already in that pre-shadow phase of the Mercury retrograde. And Mercury's going to start to go retrograde, come tomorrow evening to like probably I would say probably like give it till Friday. Friday probably is when I always say it's like whenever Mercury goes in, it's usually the first day is kind of like, "Ooh, did Mercury happen?" And then all of a sudden by like that night, it's like, "Oh yeah, it happened."
Oh,
So
yeah.
it takes a day for us to reset.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
this particular Mercury being in Virgo is all about like expect like certain things like check your tires for flat tires. Make sure your car has oil. Like these are the two things that I think about every Mercury retrograde. And what I tend to happen is Mercury retrograde stuff happens to me before Mercury. So like all that stuff happened to my car originally. So it might happen again, hopefully, but you got to be proactive about it.
Right,
But
right.
it's also about your overall health. So this is the cooler weather coming back. So it's utilizing the nature's energies, getting out, walking more, doing things that's gonna empower yourself during this time of rewiring, of this rerouting, of miscommunication, miscues, whatever you want to call it. But it's all about understanding how you could adjust your flow because these things are going to happen and they've already started. I've already experienced them, but they're going to happen more frequently.
Yeah.
And that's the thing about frequency and about harmonic resonance and about the bigger picture is that Mercury's going retrograde through our perspective. If we're on Mercury, when does Earth go retrograde? You see
Right,
what I'm
right.
saying?
Yeah,
Like this
yeah.
is the perspective based off of this planet, but it's how the energies are affecting us here. It would be a completely different energy reading if you were on Mercury or you were on another planet, because you would not only be taking in the energy of that planet, but also the energies of how it's being perceived. So
Yeah.
it's a bigger picture thing when we start to really think about the retrogrades. And a lot of it, they always get the bad rap. Every retrograde gets a bad rap. And it's understandable, but it's
Yeah.
also comes through fear of not knowing and not being proactive with the energies.
Right.
See, the more we're proactive, that what I find, particular retrogrades, the more we're proactive, the better we are to understand. You know?
Definitely. Yeah. Mel, you said, "I feel like I'm on another planet."
Yeah.
I know I'm on another dimension.
You're only gonna get tossed into another planet in the next couple days. So if you're like, "Oh, I'm on another planet right now," just wait until
Yeah.
Mercury starts kicking off. After the weekend, and we got a full moon coming up. We have all of these things that are trigger points
Yeah.
and understanding triggers through spirituality is really important because you have to understand what will motivate you or what will make you, depressed in a sense. So it's like you have to understand that there are certain triggers out there that are meant to do both.
Yeah.
They're meant to motivate you, but also depress you because you can't do a certain thing. And
Right.
there's a things for us to really like focus on when those trigger energy comes through is figuring out how we react.
Right.
Because that reaction is what Mercury retrograde is all about. We're going to have bad reactions. We're going to react to things that we don't normally would react because it's like not getting all the information. So if
Right.
you're trying to process things, you need all the information. Right now, I'm processing very clearly because I'm getting all the information. Now we already have 6 planets in retrograde: Jupiter, you know, um, Neptune, Pluto. I mean, these planets are already still sitting in retrograde right now. So we're going to get a 7th planet added to this. So right now, it's kind of feels like Jupiter being retrograde too. So it's like we have all of these different areas that we need to navigate. And
Yeah.
what I like to say about retrogrades too is like when after they're over, it's like they unpack their bags. So
Yeah.
it's just like what right now everything's being packed up for Mercury to go on its trip because our perspective members shows Mercury's going backwards, right? That's what we're being told. That's what a retrograde is. It looks like because based on our perspective, it looks like the planet's going backwards. It's not going forward in its rotation. So when we look at this thing, we're thinking, oh wow, the planet's going backwards. But necessarily on Mercury's like, we're not going backwards. What are you talking about? It's the same thing on Earth. That's what I was saying before, is where if you were on Mars, the perspective of Earth, you might look and say, well, is the Earth going backwards? Like, what's going on over there? Oh, what's it affecting me? So it's like the personalization of these energies, I like to say, can be so I find with so many different variables. With the healing the healer within group that I run, I find there's so many people when I post these things about the Schumann resonance or different
Yeah,
energy,
yeah,
people
yeah.
go, "Oh my god, oh, I felt it too." But then there's other people, there's always a couple people that are like, "Phoenix, I don't know what you're talking about. I had a great day today." I'm like, "Keep going with that great day, because tomorrow might be different." You know what I'm saying? Tomorrow, you may have caught up to the energy, you know what I'm saying? You may have caught up to that area where I'm already, like, foretold. It's like when we are able to see certain energies through the future in certain things, when I do the cosmic oracle readings, I can see certain energies because I would base it on the 4 fields of energy. So the physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual has this has this energy that it
Yeah,
does.
yeah,
So this is all about finding that resonance, finding that area that you're supposed to be comfortable in. Now, Mercury retrograde is going to be an area that's going to put you in areas where you're not comfortable in. So these experiences that are going to come through are very important to how we respond versus how we react. And I'm
right.
saying this because I'm guilty of it just as much as everybody else.
Me
You know,
too, me too.
I have this thing. I don't know if we can see it because it's through the camera, but it's backward. Oh no, there it is. I'm a human being, not a human doing.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's like that's the card I pulled before I sat down with you, and it's just a reminder that's retrograde right there.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
we want to be these spiritual beings, but man, Mercury retrograde teaches us how to be human.
yeah.
It literally
I
says, like, your intuition, "Oh, yeah, remember that it's fantastic intuition you have? Well, I'm just gonna put a whole bunch of distortions, distractions, not gonna give you all the information that you normally get. Oh, by the way, Jupiter's still also in
yeah,
retrograde. It's one of my, like, power planets, so it's like we feel this dip. Spiritual very spiritually connected to Jupiter. A lot of people feel that, very strong connection, but, like, we dip and we drop into these different areas of awareness. So I think now these next couple days is proactive. It's like, what are you going to put in those bags to pack
right,
while Mercury goes on its trip?
right.
You know, because during that time, there's no other planets coming off. It's going in, and then Mercury comes out. We go back to 6, and I think it's like another month and a half until we get another planet that jumps back into its normal rotation. It's
Yeah.
you know, but
Yeah, so don't panic, people. This is temporary.
yeah, if you're a Hitchhiker's Guide fan like I am, it's like, don't panic, always bring your towel, like, it's all these, like, little metaphors and stuff that reminders is that as we
Uh,
navigate the cosmos, because we're on one big giant planet that happens to be the area that we know is supposed to be an area that's supposed to be, the higher the higher sense of consciousness that we know
right.
of, right? Meanwhile, we know that there's other areas of consciousness that exist. But right now, through our level of consciousness, it's saying, what do we want to do next? It's like, what do we want to do during this Mercury retrograde? Well, we're not going to overthink things, right? Well, we are, right? We're not going to start anything new, which we tend to do. It's like all these things we say we're not going to do, and then when the reverse happens, when we have these like setbacks and
Right.
challenges,
Yeah.
don't be surprised. Just say to yourself, "Hey, listen, I tried. I know it's Mercury retrograde." Like people are
Yeah.
like, "You can't do nothing. You can't sit there and do nothing." Like I get those people. I get all those people. I get it. I get all the electrical problems. I get all the typos. And I get that we have to get out of our head and back into our heart. And Mercury's going to force us to go
Yeah.
into our head every time.
Yeah.
Every time. Saw that comment from Christina she put up. So, like, little things like that are like, that's a reminder. It's that it's gotta get out of here. But
Yeah.
Murphy's gonna force us in here and be like, "Are you sure you have all the logic?"
Yeah.
No, we don't have the information. All the information needs to be processed in the heart. And then those people too who just go full hearted out to the world and don't get slapped in the face, and then they're wondering why they're upset the next week. This is because you started a new business or you bought a new house during Mercury
Yeah.
retrograde. Like
Or started a new habit, a new,
whatever it is, it's
whatever it is, you're okay. You're gonna
trying
do
to
it. Yeah.
yeah. You
Yeah.
have to say to yourself and say, "Listen, what type of tolerance am I gonna practice during this time?" Because it is a tolerance of what we speak, what we think,
Yeah.
right? But also how we receive that energy and how we're processing it and also projecting it. Because a lot of Mercury retrograde, there's a lot of projections.
Oh,
People
yeah.
are feared, they can't think right, so they want you to think the way they think it. And it's like, whoa, 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 I'm processing, but
Yeah.
I can only process me and I can't process me, and now you want me to process you.
Right.
So it's like little things like that. It's like you can't say to yourself like, "Hmm, what are the levels of awareness that I want to accomplish?" I write
Mhm.
down a list of the physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual during each retrograde. I remind myself like, what action am I going to look out for? And then there's a lesson that comes with it. And
Yeah.
it's like we have to say to ourselves and say, well, normal circumstances, conditions, right? Because everything's conditional. I love to be unconditional, but we know this life is conditional. This world is conditional.
Yeah.
It's navigating the conditions to understand how we can live unconditionally,
Right.
right? Love doesn't need a definition. Love is unconditional. We know that. But in a conditional world, people base their love on the conditions.
Correct.
People
Yeah.
love certain people. People do certain things based on those conditions. Is it right? Is it wrong? It depends on the conditions and the person.
Yeah.
Certain conditions might be beneficial, that might be, and there are other conditions that are like codependency, like all these negative, and they're just negative buzzwords really that people use. And I agree, there's a lot of times you can use that.
Yeah. No, it's so true. I actually had a situation this weekend. I was putting bricks at the end of my driveway. I was digging, I had my
Yeah,
13-year-old neighbor with me, and three men come up. Oh, they they want to put their 2 cents in. And I didn't even respond to them. I looked at the 13-year-old and I go, I think it looks great, doesn't it? And he was like, yeah. And we just kept digging, like we didn't even respond.
great. You see, during normal circumstances, and this was pre-shadow retrograde, you handled
Right.
yourself very well. Bravo. Now
Yeah.
give yourself 2 or 3 weeks into the heart of this beast of retrograde. You
Yeah.
may have responded differently or
Oh,
reacted differently
definitely.
rather, because you responded. That's how you respond, is you
Yeah.
take the energy and you say to yourself, "Pfft, you know what? This ain't worth it." And you respond. But in Mercury retrograde, you go, "Oh, and another thing, and another thing. Oh, hold
Yeah.
on."
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, we don't have that filter. We don't have that limit of awareness. Our awareness is skewed. It's off the planet. It's off the normal shelf of reasoning. So
Yeah.
it's this separation that these, and of course we're seeing this in this world more and more.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a big Marvel Comics fan. I see this in Marvel Comics all the time. Is this mansplaining and like all this other this crappy energy that
Yeah.
I don't understand the reason behind it. Like, let me tell you this: when I hear about energy and stuff like that, like if I can stand behind it and appreciate it, it's the most beautiful thing. But if it's gonna put somebody down, or if it's gonna make somebody feel
Yeah.
unwanted, what is that?
Right.
It's like, to me, that's not energy. To me, that's not the unconditional love vibe that we're trying to create.
Right.
That's that fakeness, that not living that authentic life, or being authentically connected to your higher self, and that's just utilizing that low base energy just to get points.
Right.
There's a lot of this like connecting just to get points thing, and Mercury's all about it. All those people that have wronged you, this is their time for them to get their points. Let them take their points.
That's they can have them.
Don't
They
play
can
tough.
have
This
them.
isn't a
Yeah.
game. For them it
Right.
is,
You're
but
right.
how do you beat the game? You don't play.
I
It's
don't
really
play.
hard during Mercury retrograde, I'll tell you. It's not easy because we wanna play. We wanna have a conscious thought. We wanna come
Right.
out this thing swinging, and the problem is we're not connecting with all the right energies
Right.
mentally. And that's why it's really important for us to really hone in on the heart, connect to nature during Mercury retrogrades and whatnot. Really
Very
fine-tune
important.
why your head is being drawn and being all this projected stuff that you're trying to hold up your hands to be like, say, listen, like I'm innocent here. And there's
Yeah.
a lot of that stuff, especially during Mercury retrograde. There's a lot of this victimizing, and this creating of these like paradoxes in a sense of like things that outrageous things, and all of a sudden the retrograde's over, and people are like, "Oh, well, I'm fine.
Woo!
What are you talking about?" Like, I
Yeah.
think you
I
just
don't remember last week,
I don't
right?
remember that. Yeah. I don't remember. It's like, and that's what happens. It's like the slate gets cleaned, and it's like
Yeah.
back
Yeah.
to square one. Okay, cool, great.
I told you before we came on that I had a few of my loves calling me like, "What's going on? I'm giving up." And I'm like, "No, listen to Phoenix tonight. He's gonna
Yeah,
tell you."
these are just the playground areas now. It's like
Yeah.
school hasn't started. Well, it has started in since,
It
but
it
Mercury
started, yeah.
retrograde is going to kick off the spiritual school. So, like right now, it's like playing in the sandbox. Kids are going to throw a little dirt around. There's going to be all these like, and it's like not really there yet, but people are still like, this is pretty bad. But
Yeah.
just wait, come like next week when people like the 13th or the 14th, people are going to be like, what? What is happening? Like people go and they don't have that normal awareness or their ability to sometimes connect to the higher self. And
Right.
again, they're not tapping into the higher self when they're dealing with that Mercury retrograde energy. They're tapping into that negative consciousness, that's being projected by all these people that are trying to focus with their brain, who's like basically not be able to see the full version. It's like you're only working with a part of your brain.
Right.
It's a part of the brain without logic or reasoning. Mercury retrograde, there is no logic or reasoning that happens. People just do things, and you're like, "What? What? What? Why? What? Why? Why would you do that?" You know, it's like, and then later, like, "I didn't do that." Well, like again, it's just because they know it's not really their energy, but it's being what's being projected to them that they're now dipping it out in their own perspective and their own opinions and ways, and it's just like a horrible game of telephone. You know,
Right.
Mercury retrograde, just a really bad, horrible game of telephone. By the
Yeah.
end of the day, you're like, "What? What was said?" And then you finally ask the person, "I didn't say that. I don't know why did you get that?" You know? I love the comment, "We need Mercury retrograde drinkers." I mean, right? Wouldn't
Yeah.
that be something? I'll take an umbrella, a raincoat, give me a
Yeah.
yurt, you know, like something like because I'm gonna need it. Because that's exactly what it feels like. It feels like you're being, flooded. And
Yeah.
that's the thing, we're being flooded with all of this thought, and don't get me wrong, like I said it's not always negative. It's just
Right.
so much, too much at one time is a lot. I don't
Yeah.
care if it's negative or positive, if it's too much at one time, what do you handle? And what can you hold on to as it being a container, right? A container of awareness, like, and what are you giving out?
Yeah.
They made those. I think now is the time for people to start to go out and get one, right? Because walking around in a big giant bubble, I'll be a bubble boy if that's what it takes for
Well,
me.
that's what I say. I surround myself in a big purple bubble,
That you do.
a
It's
bubble of
amazing.
love.
And I absolutely love it. I brought a little purple for you tonight, and
Yeah,
I even the picture I gave you, I was also purple because it's so important with colors, like Phoenix green, like, of course, I have to wear some type of green, like, it
right,
just
right.
resonates with me so loudly because it's from the heart chakra, and
Yeah,
purple we know is the crown, and it just resonates with such a high level of love and
right.
appreciation and gratitude.
Yeah,
So, Sunshine, that's one thing I've noticed about you is that the amount of gratitude that you're able to create by sharing how happy you are doing and living life. It is that simple. Like most people make this spiritual game to be so complex and so difficult that you forget to really appreciate to what they are and
right.
what they actually bring to the spiritual table.
Yeah,
And it's like you bring such a high vibe amount of energy to the spiritual table that you attract all of these high vibe people that want to sit at your table.
yeah.
Because that's really it is, right? It's this big giant spiritual table. We're all figuring out where we sit.
And
And certain groups, people can sit. Other people, no, they don't resonate. They can't sit with those
right,
things. So the
right.
goal is to be able to just float and go wherever you have to go and just
Well,
be it.
that's what it
Just
is.
be yourself
I'm
and
just
go
being,
there
yeah,
wherever you
I'm just being me.
Right.
I'm just being me and sharing my joy. And if you guys want to come on for the ride, good. If you don't, I still love you.
It's just even the fact of you, asking people to be on, the Ripple Connection, and like having people be excited about not just sharing their story, but also hearing how you are so excited about them. I mean, having a personal cheerleader for somebody's own success or someone's own journey is something I think we all freaking need in this world. We all need just a little bit of
Well, I
somebody in the
always
corner. If
say,
it's not us, just when we can't have it, we need that other person in that corner.
yeah, we're here to nourish and inspire each other. I say it every single day.
Of course you do. I mean, you just emanate it. It just comes out of you. So I would hope you would say those things because I can feel it.
Uh, so much fun. And I meet so many people all week long. Like last night, I decided just to go into a tattoo parlor and just to ask, if someone could do it and
Yeah.
make an appointment. He was like, sit, I'll do it right now. And I was like, let's do it. And
Well,
I
the
had
universe responded,
the whole
and good
place.
for you to get it before the retrograde really kicks off. That's
Yeah.
another good thing. So you can heal during the retrograde, which is fine.
Yeah, yeah,
That's not something you started. That's something that happened before.
yeah,
It's like a lot of people are like, well, what can I start? What can I can't I mean, new projects, new jobs, like little things like that. Don't start it
yeah,
because the energy there isn't for you to really focus on and really do what you want. You know what I'm saying? Like for you to really do what you want takes for you to not be doing the things during the time that you shouldn't be doing it. And
Right.
right now, retrograde stuff can really limit a lot of people.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's like if you feel like you're being limited, like don't keep doing it. Like step back and say to yourself, like, all right, there's got to be another way of doing it, or maybe I can don't have to do it right now. Like
Right.
Mercury retrograde's all about, hey, don't force this thing. Like
Yeah.
don't take it round and put it in that square because it's not going to work. Okay, like same way. It's like you have to figure out what works for you
Yeah.
and go with it.
Yeah, definitely go with it. And if you are all of a sudden getting anxious and feel like this is not giving me joy, stop doing it.
That
Just stop
anxiety.
it, you know?
High anxiety. Like, we are such highly evolved spiritual beings with such a high level of anxiety. It's
Right.
incredible. Is
Yeah.
because we're constantly trying to remember what our next higher step is versus the lower steps we took to get here. Like we get depressed because we think we didn't step on the right step the right way or
Right.
we stepped on it the wrong way. Like it is that simple expression of how we keep going forward. And even during Mercury retrograde, when things feel like they're going backwards, right? It's all about how you're going to present yourself to go forward.
Right.
And it's like, what are you going to say to yourself? Like, oh well, I want to go forward. Like, I don't want to go backwards. But Mercury retrograde saying, yeah, but let's just take your mind and go backwards. And the heart's like, I want to go forwards. Like, so that's what the problem is that we have two things going in opposite directions.
Right. Yeah, yeah. It's so true. It's so true. Yay, we have lots of great friends
Uh,
tonight
Good,
watching.
excellent.
We have
I
our
hope that people are paying
cheerleaders
attention,
too.
not just to what I'm saying, but also how what they're feeling and like how
Yeah,
they're expressing to certain loved ones or certain people, or maybe going about their day going, hmm, you know, I did respond. I did react instead of respond today a little bit harsher then. And like
right.
again, it's only gonna get pop, 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 and then eventually it's gonna peak, but it's not the retrograde doesn't end till October 2nd.
Yeah.
So that means the rest of September, we are in this type of Mercury retrograde, like backwards energy. And it's not until like mid October, really, is when we really start to go really forward.
Yeah.
Avon, she's another
And
great
yeah,
supporter.
yes. And we're
I love
actually
this. I
going
just, I
to
can't,
Hawaii in
not,
October.
I mean, how could you not say anything to people that, again, like the cheerleaders that are out, and she's doing her own thing too, which is by
Yeah.
all means that's great. But like, she's also there to help other people, go through this next level and step up when they need to step up. So again, it's a really such an important platform that you're having too, is to have people here to share and again, just having the couple people come in, pass a couple questions over, and just really feel like what they need to connect with tonight is that's it.
Yeah.
Energies, I mean, we could talk about energy for the rest of, for everything. Everything is energy, and energy is everything. We know that, but like, how do we apply it? And that's
Right.
been my biggest like tackle. Like people like I used to go fishing a lot, so like, what you need tackle box? Like, it's that. It's how do I apply all of this spiritual knowledge and wisdom, and I put it into certain things. I have this integrated website. You can go on my website, www.greenphoenixhealing.com. It has a whole interactive website. You can
It
go through the
is. I
Phoenix
love
Walk
it.
and figure out like what you're connecting with, and each area you connect with has a different service that I offer. As a nutritional consultant, um, uh, that's something that I feel is really important for us to really be part of, is to understand nutrition of the body, the energy of the body. And as an energy practitioner, is then it's like saying, okay, what's happening underneath the surface? What's going on? That how do we put all these pieces of the puzzle together?
Mhm.
It's like I'm a problem solver. I've always been. My original profession was emergency medical service before I had to leave my job, and that was part of the journey too. It's like I was in
Yeah,
paramedic school. I was like the valedictorian, and they were like, "Guess what? You can't
you're
do it.
out.
You're out." At the time, I'm like, "Okay, cool." Stumbled around the Enlightenment area trying to figure out like, and then 2009,
So
2006 when it
funny.
happened, and then 2009 and 10 is when Spirit's like, "Hey, by the way, waking up on your
Yeah,
30th birthday." Which the funny story, real quick thing, is that I have a past life that I'm connected to ancient Egyptian culture.
okay.
So my father was Remus the Third. I did a past life regression, and it was determined that like my father was Remus the Third. I was one of his high priests. I was
Okay.
practicing thought, medicine under thought, magic and medicine under thought. was able to resurrect, bring people back from the dead. So my father, there was insurrection. My father was killed during that time. I brought him back. It was only 30 minutes. Thoth came in through the golden doors, said, "Hey, listen, you just messed up your whole next life. It's going to take you 30 years now to wake up." So he put my father back into his animated, back to death, into the death animation, and I went on my life. And then it took me 30 years to wake up in this life, which was incidentally, I was like, I don't know if this is the last life since then, but it's just a connection. It's always been a connection.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
why did it take the 30th birthday? Because it was when I was weak. I was at my lowest point. Is when I
Mhm.
was everything I thought I was going to be was ripped away from me. And now it's like saying, no, there's something underneath. There's a core. And everyone has this core area. And once you find that core area and you share it, you'll be like sunshine and have this ripple connection and this wonderful area that you're sharing, because it's important to really tell people, like, listen, no, you're not crazy. And
Right.
two, yeah, energy, things happen with energy, and things you can't explain through, scientific or, logic, and that's okay. Like I always say, there are certain things in life that I'm okay not knowing exactly how it goes. But
Exactly.
in the
Exactly.
process and utilizing energy, you feel it and it
Mhm.
can't go, right? You just know.
And it doesn't, when you're going through the process, you don't awaken and boom, you're like this spiritual guru. You
Like,
got
it's funny,
to
sometimes you do, but then you get smacked in the face with reality. You know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes you're like, "Oh, this is it, I got it." I
Yeah,
remember
yeah,
telling
yeah.
somebody, "Oh my god, yeah. Oh, I got it, this is great." And then you don't.
But
And then
you
you
have
ask,
to
"Why don't you have it? Why
process
don't you
it,
have
you
it?"
know?
It's because you haven't done the work. You haven't gotten that area in your life where you can find gratitude.
Yes.
Gratitude is really the thing that
Oh, it's
separates it,
right.
right? It's the liberation. Gratitude is the liberation. And when you not
And
gratitude is
speaking,
not knowing too.
yeah, yeah,
Think about it. Gratitude, you could just be grateful and just have this amazing compassion for life and animals, and have animals coming back to show their gratitude, right?
yeah,
There's no language there. Their gratitude in a sense is a language, it's an emotional language, but like there's no words being sent a lot of times of gratitude. You'd stand out in nature, get hand on your heart, all of a sudden you get hit. You're like,
oh my god, yes,
wait a
I
minute.
love that.
It's like, it's just all of a
Woo!
sudden
I got
it
chills.
just hits you so hard, because that's gratitude, and that's the power of energy. That you could have the worst reality going on, but
Mhm.
in a moment that can separate it, get rid of the distortions, find the area of awareness and areas that resonates, that you, like a bell, you ring, and that energy comes boom right to you.
Yeah.
So it's once we're able to ring that bell, our inner bell, and light up our lighthouse, we're able to attract all of that, the abundance and all the things that we want to manifest. Because you hear
Yeah.
a lot of times people are like, "I'm manifesting. I don't know what's going on." It's because, where are you manifesting from? You're manifesting from that lower aspect, materialistic,
Mm.
trying to find that higher aspect of unconditional wisdom, unconditional, like, health, wellness. To me, is what we should be, ultimately what we should be focused on.
Yep.
Because that's ultimately how light workers, what I found, the path to understanding, to be a stronger light worker. That's how you do it.
Yeah. It's so true, it's so true. And it being grateful just for little things,
Yeah,
throughout the
I
day,
mean, like,
the
little
day.
victories, right? Small victories, baby steps, whatever you
Yeah.
wanna call it, they're so important. In a
And
world where we're constantly being demonized
mhm.
for simple success and competition and all this other crap that we just stuff into this little container, and we think this is where reality is. We're here for likes, we're here for this, we're here for this, like, it's a separation, it's not a connection, it's not bringing anything. You separate yourself from the bigger picture when you try to
Right.
focus on the small picture of yourself.
And
Like, there's no thing about focusing on yourself for self-improvement, but then there's that little picture mentality where you're like, "This is it. This little tiny thing. This is me, and that's all I care about."
yeah.
In reality, that's not how it is. We live on this big, giant, beautiful Gaia planet. It's
Yeah.
being. So this separation has to happen from within us. We have to separate from disconnect from the things that we were taught,
Mhm.
things that we didn't really connect with, and we really need to focus on the things that's being resonated to us, because there is stuff that comes when the
Oh,
lights turn
yeah.
off. That
Please.
oh, it was so magical when you turned off that like the constant need to be fulfilled with
Yeah,
information
yeah.
versus the unwanted desire of just being present of wisdom. You know,
Well,
it's like
that's what
information
yeah, that's what
is
it is.
finding. It's so precise. You have to have the
Mhm.
right data in order for the science and everything to go together. But yet
And stop worrying about the
exactly.
future,
Follow
what's
the
gonna
and
happen 10
energy
minutes from now. Worry about right this second, you
yeah,
know? Be
it's
good in this moment.
it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be complex, you
No.
know, and I appreciate people like you, Sunshine, that can make things less complex, that can figure out the simple solutions to everyday simple problems that all of us are facing with every
Right.
day. You know, like every day, all of us go through many of the stuff that we spoke of, but also feelings and also things about finding that connection.
It's so true, it's
Yeah.
so true.
Live in the moment. That's right,
In
Danielle.
the moment,
Mm.
yes. And it's and if you know, have chaos in that moment, take a breath, focus, ask yourself, "Am I good?" You know, "Is
Yeah.
everything good right now?" And then the next moment, make it a good one.
Yeah, I was like to say, like, check in with your feels, you know, like check in with your body. How's
Yeah, yeah.
well, I'm gonna go run a marathon, but meanwhile your body's exhausted. Meanwhile, you just worked out. You just like now you're overexerting yourself. You're not burning
Right,
any extra calories. Don't
right,
kill yourself. You're just gonna do more work. It's like before when I was saying about being a vegan and eating cold foods when it's really cold. We're eating cold foods when it's cold out. Your body
right.
has to heat up those foods in order for and it burns extra energy. So unless you're planning on increasing your calorie intake, that's fine. But like you have to really increase your calorie intake before you survive. Like
Right.
cold proteins and stuff like that, your body needs heat in order for that's how we get calories. You know, it's our body's burning, food. That's how it works, but also checking in with your heart,
Yeah,
during those times and saying to yourself, like, is this something I want to feel later on? Is this something I want to express? And then that's when the expression goes to the mind is when you're like thinking yourself, like, is this something I really want to think about 5 years from now? Like I
right.
thought about all of the conspiracy and all the crap that we went through these past couple of years and stuff. I look at it and go, man, are we really gonna be talking about these things in 5 years? Like
Yeah,
I think to myself, I
I
hope
didn't even talk about it during it.
there you go, even better. High five.
I was like, "Woo!"
Here's a high five to you. There you go. Like, it's so important for us to just get rid of this all distortion. It's all distraction.
It
It's
is.
so important for us to really fine tune this because the more we do this area of work, the easier the resistor to the
Right,
resistance is.
right.
'Cause we are a
And
resistor,
yeah,
not the resistance. We are the resistor.
that's
So
right.
we can adjust the resistance as much as we want. And Mercury retrograde, there's a lot of resistance. So it's our goal not to use this as a tool during times when we're gonna be blocked. Yeah,
Yeah.
use the heart. You got it. That's it. And it's sometimes it's really hard because our mind's like, "Yeah, but I know." But the
Yeah,
heart says,
yeah, yeah,
"Okay, we're gonna do this again? Okay, great."
yeah. Here we go again,
Little
the
disappointment.
broken record.
Your heart tells you who you are from like, from Winnie the Pooh. It's like, "Oh, disappointment? Okay."
Does anybody have any questions? Any more questions for our friend Phoenix? We're almost an hour already.
Oh boy. That happened real fast.
It does though, right? And
Yeah.
it was an amazing conversation.
Yeah.
And is there anything that you wanna say out loud to, um, anybody who's listening?
I think if people are doing the playback and they're listening to this, you know, kind of evaluate how Mercury retrograde went for you. Like kind of evaluate how the time has come to before you heard this, and now you're listening to this. So time is moved on. It's like think to yourself and say, well, do these things resonate with you?
Right.
Like 'cause that helps everybody. Like when I think about what resonates and stuff, it really does help when people are saying, hey, listen. Well, wow, Donna put out a good question here.
Yeah, she did.
Dropping the bomb in the last minute, huh?
No. How are you
Um,
going to
mm.
react?
Well, she's the type of person that I've known for a good amount of my time,
Yeah,
doing spiritual work. She's always been, like, in my corner, always in her corner, we've always bounced things off each other for
I
as long
love
as I've known her.
that. Yeah.
So asking this question is is perfect for her, and I'll explain why my answer is. So I think the hardest thing, really, is just consistency. Is to show up and to do this every day. So the challenges I've had is trying to get all of this knowledge, this wisdom, and apply it into a 45 to like an hour long session where I have to figure out like what do I need to focus on. And I
Mhm.
think that struggle has been always my like forte to kind of overcome. So that's something I feel myself is definitely working on every day is trying to overcome that,
Yeah.
break through that area of where they're rationalizing everything and they're not focused on receiving awareness.
Right.
Like those things definitely take difficulty. Like I find that to be something that's been since 2015 since I started Green Phoenix Healing. Like that's been my biggest thing is that I tend to work with people once, and it's because I give them everything,
Yeah.
smack them with like boom, all this awareness, and they're like, and it brings us a little bit of that. The heart kind of explodes, you're
Uh,
just like, "Oh," like and it happens to me, though. I love people that ring my bell and resonate me.
yeah,
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 like but I love when I can do that for other people, but when we can't, it's discouraging. It really is. Like, good friends in our life that we're trying to, like, help, and they're maybe not receiving the information. It could be disheartening? So just really it's been my thing is just stepping back and then not being
right,
in that process part. Like,
right.
I'll give them the clues, but, like, you gotta do some work. You gotta process
Well,
because if you
that's what
process the work,
yeah,
no energy n I believe that no energy work works if people don't process it. If they don't
exactly,
know which
exactly,
chakra that you're working with or to know how or what to expect after an energy session, then I have not done my job. My
exactly.
job is simply to show up and be the conduit to
Mhm,
facilitate the energy, but your job is to receive it and know how to what to do with it and how to help other people with it.
and heal
That goes not
themselves,
just help you, but
heal
help other
themselves.
people, like,
Yeah.
the ripple effect.
It's so true,
Know
though,
what I mean? And the
but
other thing too is humor is so important too, and I
oh,
really
yeah,
appreciate
yeah, yeah.
dancing, the joy of this whole journey. That's one good thing that you're really good at. You're good at showing that joy through the journey. The journey can suck for a lot of things and a lot of reasons. I'm
Yeah,
not play devil's advocate, but if you can figure out a way to bring more joy and doing it and really showing that you're really enjoying it, like all the sweaters and like all the things that you do in this wonderful world, like that's what makes you unique. And I think that's what makes you stand out.
and I believe it's being your authentic self too, you know?
Yeah, what
Don't
is that?
worry.
Like a lot of people question it because I don't think they've really understood what it is to be their authentic self.
Yeah.
For instance,
And
like,
I didn't know either,
yeah,
until a few years ago myself. I am, I was reborn. I was
hmm
completely reborn. I
out of
had
the ashes. High five.
yeah, bam! And,
Mhm.
so I'm literally I mean, now I'm probably 4 years old now, but
Yeah,
just the experience that I went through, I was able to be my authentic self, and
yeah,
I am it 24/7, 24/7, I will not go back into that cage
no,
again.
no.
That inner child has been set free.
That's it. That's it. And by that, you're showing other people that it's okay to let
Yeah,
their
to
out
be
out,
themselves,
to
yeah,
let the joy in and to dance and to love animals. Like that's what I was getting at before is that I believe there are people that are inherently bad and inherently good,
yeah,
right? But I also believe that people learn through the journey to
yeah,
what resonates with them, right? Like if you love animals and you're spiritual, you see what I'm saying? Like bringing into that spiritual where you're helping animals and doing all this stuff. It's like that's a joy thing. That's showing joy, and that's one step of
right,
it. So I think it's important for us to really focus and hone in on the areas of joy, but
right,
not to be stuck there because you don't. It's reality of life is that I would love to live there and just be dancing out in nature all day long, but ultimately it's like you got to take some of that wisdom and bring it back. It's like the hero's journey is where we start from the top, we go through the whole journey, and then as we come around, we have to take that knowledge and bring it back to the village to
yeah,
teach them, like, hey, this is what I learned. That's
Right.
what Reiki for me was like, right? He marched all the way up to the mountain and he did his
Yeah.
thing, and he came back and he's like, "All right, I just learned a way to heal people. Holy moly." It's just like I took that as like, wow, like how can I experience something like that in my life?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be that extreme where you have to climb a mountain. It could be that simple of like saving a bird, you know,
Right. Yeah.
loving your neighbor, you know,
Saying
appreciating
hello to somebody, complimenting
right?
some
Right, it's that simple. It doesn't have to be complex. You don't have to climb
No,
a mountain when you can be easily go on the other side of the hill and help that person there.
that's right.
Like, if you look in your neighborhood or your surrounding people, is guaranteed there's somebody that needs help.
Oh
Now
my
it's
god,
your choice.
yeah.
It's just your choice now at this point, whether
Yeah.
you help them or not. That's it.
Well, that's why I painted my fence during COVID. I went
Yeah,
out there and I painted a whole mural on my fence because I was like, "All right, here's so much happiness." You know?
that's how it should be, and that's really how it should be. Yeah, and I
Yeah.
appreciate you teaching us and reminding. See, again, through a difficult time, there you were, paying
Yeah.
it forward, right? Like there you were, figuring out a way to paint your joy so that other people can see it and appreciate it too. It's like you're so visual,
Yeah.
sunshine. There's so
Yeah.
much visual joy, not just in the work you're doing, but also in what you are and how you present yourself and how you support your group. How you support the people in your life. Like
Uh,
people know that. Whether you're a grandkid, or going through these different areas in life and like having this sense of like purpose. It's like you find it. You find a way through the difficulties to find a purpose in what you're doing.
right. And we all have it. We all have the
But
sunshine.
not all of us find it though. That's the thing.
Well, but
You
that's one
found
of
it pretty good 4 years old.
Yeah, that's why we're here. We're
Yeah,
helping people find their sunshine, you
that's
know?
right.
Yeah. It's so much and it's such a gratifying thing to witness so many beautiful people, transforming into sunshines too, I just
Absolutely.
love it.
And that's the thing. So you instill sunshine, I instill the sense of a phoenix.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I want everybody to burn their old ashy self, and come out of that and understand the beauty that comes from resurrection, coming from
Yeah.
the rising, and there is so much beauty in that once you really fully
Oh my
fulfill your
goodness.
higher authentic purpose.
It's so
It's a
amazing.
beautiful feeling. And we forget, don't get me wrong, we forget, but it's nice that we have people to help us remind us.
Yeah. Definite, definite, definite. Yay!
I'm so
Thank
glad that we were able to do this. I
I
was
know, and I
she's so
suggested it.
busy. Look at her, and she's like, "Phoenix, would you like to?" I was like, "Yep." Pick that
Yes, please.
so got in before the retrograde. So we had
Yeah,
the
yeah,
difficulties.
yeah. Well, thank you so much for
Welcome. Thank you,
coming
and
on.
keep being that bright light in this
Thank
world.
you. You too.
We
You too.
know it's just so hard to be kind in this world, and you're just making it look very easy. So keep it up, okay?
Aw, thank you.
You
Thank
got
you.
it, buddy.
You too. I'm gonna put you in the back room.
Yeah.
All right. I'll talk
Thank
to you
you.
1 second. Thank you. Yay. So much fun. So much fun. I hope everybody received some good messages and know that you are good, that everything is going to be okay. This is temporary. Everything is temporary. We are temporary. Our feelings are temporary. Situations are temporary. So let's all just go with love and light, and let's all be happy, healthy, wealthy, and free. Yes.
This is the moment we've been waiting for. Feel the right in a world of that for sure. Na 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 na. Got to get that feeling.